Good morning, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to the Economic Development Advisory Committee of April 8th, 2025. And can I have, the land acknowledgement first. As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all the generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. Deputy Clerk, can I have the roll call, please?
Chair Sobalski.
Present.
Sherry Kobus. Councillor Dick.
Present.
Councillor McWhirter.
Present.
Christina Oulet.
Present.
John Poole.
Present.
Lisa Vincent.
Present.
Lori Wickisher.
Present.
Chair, we do have quorum.
Thank you very much. We're going to jump into B, any declaration of interest. Not seeing any. C, presentations, delegations, petitions. C.1, which is the County of Renfrew updates presented by Warden Peter Emo.
Good morning, and thank you very much. Just very quickly on the, I think in your package you had the county update, county council summary, and on the first page it talks about the RC VTAC. We're very, and you might find it strange that you come to an economic development committee to talk to it, but because we have 30,000 people without doctors, and because often health services are tied to bricks and mortar, and it causes, we've had numerous surveys where people say it's very disruptive to our operations because people have to take a half day off or a day off to sit in a merge to get to a doctor. So just in 2024, 74,000 calls were taken, and about 1,000 emergency department visits per month were not occurring because of this. Right now, today, you can phone VTAC and set up an appointment to go to one of our rotating clinics. We have clinics all across the county if you go to their website at various times. And the clinics are staffed by paramedics who are linked by video and some new medical technology which allows them to scan you, and it goes right to the doctor. It's almost like Star Trek with the tricorder, for those of you that are of a certain vintage and grew up in black and white TV. So you can have the appointment with the paramedic doing all of the examination and testing, and then the doctor can order further tests or can order medication. So we are on the cutting edge in Renfrew County. We spend a lot of time on the road presenting to other rural municipalities. What we said to the minister is this is not a shiny toy. Not every municipality like a Windsor or a London or an Ottawa needs this. It's basically meant for us in rural Ontario. So we're very proud of it. We've had 5 years in. We've got our funding lined up for sure. And you'll see more and more clinics open up. But as of this point, we've serviced over 160,000 patients or people since opening in March 2020. And next, when you go to the OVTA on page, the same page. So we have the Ottawa Valley Tourism Awards, and so if you have anybody you want to nominate, so we like to recognize industry achievements and excellence, and you can self-nominate as well. And the Warden's Golf Tournament is open. It's for June 20th here at Dragonfly, and our proceeds this year are going to the Darlene Aikens Memorial Fund of Family and Children's Services of Renfrew County, and it helps send kids to camp, and to the Renfrew County Housing and Homelessness Fund. Both of those, we set up the homelessness fund about 3 years ago, and the Darlene Aikens Memorial Fund has been in existence for probably 50 years. 40 years ago, when I was a university student, I worked at that program, so that's how long it's been around. You're going to see something on the HYPE program in a few minutes. And I think that, the Climate Action Committee. So we formed a Climate Action Ad Hoc Committee. So right now, and I'm going to be chairing that because it's a longer-term committee. So we're going to focus on identifying what we can do internally first. We want to get our own house in order, and then we're going to go out to industry and the other sectors to try and exchange best practices. And the view is to achieve a 20% decrease in emissions from our county operations and a 20 to 25% reduction in community-wide emissions by 2030, with 2021 as the baseline year. So we want to make sure we have our own house in order. Electric vehicles are not the answer for everything. We might be able to use some of them in some parts of our operation. We are using LED lights. We've had an analysis done on most of our buildings and are in the process of weatherproofing them to make them more efficient. That all takes a significant investment, so that's going to take some time to do. So we are not going to be preaching to people about it because we don't feel we have a tall enough pedestal to be able to preach down to everybody. So we'll be engaging people. But it's going to be a slow process, so don't rush out and think you have to do anything right away, and we're not going to impose anything. And very quickly, another thing of interest to you is that we have a budget of $2.5 million for the Algonquin Trail development this year. And so that will finish it from approximately Chalk River through to the border with Papineau Cameron. And again, we're in the process of dragging out some numbers, so we'll be able to get back to you next year to tell you about the number of users and what we think the economic impact of the trail is. We have a significant problem in the Papineau Cameron area. They're a small rural municipality. They're a standalone municipality. They're rather unique in Ontario. And the trail ends about 7 kilometers away from Mattawa. And so we're in the process of working with them. And we think we're going to sign an operating agreement where we will operate the trail for them because they're not able to do it. And we'd like to be able to get into Mattawa. And then there's some other trails connecting from Mattawa further into the north. So we're in the process of trying to negotiate our way through that. Had a meeting with Vic Fideli. He's the MPP from that area about, I think it was 6 weeks before the election, and he's interested, so I just have to touch base with him again. So we are working on linking the trail all the way through so you can access up into the north area with it. And that is all I have to tell you about the county update.
Thank you, Warden. Any conversation on the update? If I will just personally say the intent of the Algonquin Trail is fantastic to link so many communities together, and to get all the way up to Mattawa is impressive, and I love that it comes right through the heart of Renfrew. It's a great asset for us, so thank you.
And might I suggest, the challenge may be for the town of Renfrew, and I say this as the warden, that at some point a partnership to beautify the section that runs from O'Brien through to probably Lisgar. When you look at what Armprior's done, and then you look at what Almont's done, and Petawawa, if you get time to take a look at what they've done, some of the development, what they've accomplished. I believe it's Almont, they have what's called I'm going to call it an arboretum. I think that's wrong. It's more of a Latin term, where they've grown they're growing trees to form an umbrella over top of it and green spaced it. So that might be something for either this committee or another committee of council to consider in the future. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Just to follow up on that, maybe it's something we can add as a talking point in the group to have open discussions, what everyone's idea could be for that next step and understanding what makes people want to come to Renfrew. Great. Thank you. I'll move on to C.2. Again, for Warden Emo to speak about the HYPE program from the County of Renfrew.
So we're really proud of this program. It's called the HYPE program. It's helping your place of excellence, or helping your place excel, sorry. And the first slide just talks about the time frame, or how we grew the program. And the next slide, number 3, I believe, so there's private sector investment. That's the one. Tourism, trail development, agriculture investment, affordable housing, accessible improvements, brownfield restoration, which is always a tricky one, and environmental and energy efficiency. And next slide, please. So there are presently 7 municipalities with active CIPs, and we're hoping that the municipalities will be able to line up a little bit differently with, and so they match the one with the county. But just a little bit of history. Arnprior has one, and it allows for brownfield development, and the town didn't. The town doesn't have that, and the county, we didn't have one in place, so we wanted to try and match up with Arnprior. Arnprior had a developer that was wanting to build affordable housing and wanted access to affordable housing money, and also wanted some money to assist with refurbishing or rehabilitating the property, and we weren't able to do something about that. So we started working on this about 6 months ago. And next, please. So January, normally on a normal year, January 1st to the third Friday in March, and then after that is the second intake. And the second intake is essentially as long as there is money in the pot. This year, I think you'll see it start July 1st because we'll finally approve it, as you'll see from another slide, in June. And this is the process, so it's respectful. One of the things we struggle with is as soon as we put something out, people say, oh, you're taking over, you're doing this, you're doing that. So we want to drive home that we're respectful of the municipality. So you'll see the application comes to the local municipality first. They have to approve it, then it comes to the County of Renfrew, and then it goes back to the town to essentially administer it. And then we will write a check, and they pass the funding to the applicant. So there's no nasty county coming along and bigfooting the poor local municipality. We're trying very hard to make sure we're a partner in this, and a quiet partner. And next slide, please. And the good news is it's not a political process. So it's going to come essentially to staff, with the exception of brownfields, because they're the brownfield. Also, there's a tax increment that can be applied by the local municipalities and by the county, so that has to be approved by council. But the rest of it will be staff approved, so they'll have a list or a template to make sure it checks all the boxes, and then they'll recommend approving it, and we'll just get a report at the end of every quarter saying this is what we've approved. So this year the budget is $100,000, so that's going to be $100,000 from whenever the program starts, and it's up to 50% matching funds on the projects. And the total grant, so we wanted to limit it in the sense that it can't be more than $15,000 annually per property. And so tenants can apply, and not-for-profits as well as the property owner. And next, please. So the agriculture and farm diversification. So you can see the financial side of it. Essentially, what we wanted to do was encourage farm gate sales and attractions. And next, please. Accessibility again. As I age, I need to be able to go places, and there are a lot of people like me, and so we're just trying to make sure that we improve accessibility to all facilities. So that's facilities is a key word. So the municipalities can apply for that as well. And affordable housing, again, we're just trying to stimulate affordable housing, so you'll see the conversion piece, item A, which is converting spaces as well as building, and we're supporting infrastructure investment as well. And studies, we'll contribute to studies as well. But again, that's a tricky one. We may offend some people because, I believe, at least what I'm suggesting is our focus should be on things that are achievable. I might want to form a group and put affordable housing on the top of Mount St. Patrick because I love the view, but I'm not sure that's, it's a good investment. And so, if was I sitting on the committee, I'd sort of say, no, I don't think we're going to invest in that. Next, please. And 3, affordable housing improvements and energy efficiency. Again, the same idea is the retrofitting buildings to encourage that, and upgrades to lighting, all of those things. Brownfield remediation. So this is the tricky one. And again, it's the Environmental Protection Act and the environmental assessment phase 2, is involved. So there are 2 types of grants. One is the remediation assistance, and then there's the tax increment equivalent. So that allows a local municipality to gradiate the taxes on a property. For instance, if I came to you today, built today, in theory, any tax increase to go from a vacant brownfield to 14 units could be spread out over a few years. And that's subject to the agreement of the 2 levels of municipal government. And number 6 is just a little more clarity on brownfield. So that is excavation, and it is treatments. It might be capping. Oh, there we go, capping and containment, and groundwater. And again, you need engineers. And so right now I'm involved with a group who has a plan for affordable housing. And they've stumbled on the fact that they have an unknown or an ancient waste site. People that thrown stuff over the back 40 and just kept putting sand on top of it. And so that's the kind of thing, I'm going to be encouraging them in July to make an application for get engineers in to get a sense of how much, is it just 5,000 tin cans and a couple of bottles, or is it something more significant than that? And I don't mean just, but as we all know, environmental issues can range from tin cans to whatever, oil drums. And number 6 is that's the tax increment, sorry. I've already explained that as best I know, and as you realize, I'm a social worker, not a planner, nor an accountant, so you're best to get good advice. And then the program details. Community business improvements. So this goes to the traditional facades, signs, and property. And so, again, eligible costs is working on your brickwork, as well as chemical cleaning and outdoor art and murals. And again, that's something new, I believe. It is for us, certainly. And then signage, and you can see the numbers. And this one is for additions of landscaping features. So if you decide, that you want to put up a nice wrought iron fence and a lot of grass in front of your operation, then this is eligible now. And restoration of buildings. So yeah, we really like older buildings. And so we wanted to make sure that, again, if you wanted to replace or refresh your ceiling, especially here on Radnor. There's a lot of older buildings, or floors, or the roofing, or windows, or doors, because, I think we all sort of shudder when you're driving through somewhere and you look and there's these great brick arches and there's brown plywood, with a square window, and so you'd like to see those restored. So that was, I stuck my nose in on that one, to be honest with you. And next is the action plan projects. Again, stormwater management, and this is a bit for cattle fencing, shoreline restoration. We've been picking away at that one for years. In fact, one of the things we went to the province with was putting a 5-cent charge on water bottles. I don't want to name a company, but the plastic bottles that you buy water in stores, with the idea that would be 4 cents of that would go back into the pot, so local municipalities would get the money, similar to the gas tax, to allow them to invest in their water and wastewater plants, and then the one remaining penny in total would go into shoreline restoration projects across Ontario. So we're still going to go, at least I'm going to go back after that one, but we started it, we thought we'd start here at home first to say, look, we're worried about our shoreline and we're trying to do something, but we need more money. And trail improvements. So if you belong to a not-for-profit, or you are operating a trail on behalf of the town, or you want to build a trail, the town will take over. This is going to give you some funding for that. And that includes acquisition of lands too, sorry. I think that's in there. Acquisition of lands, yes. And trailheads, signage, and so all sorts of things. So we tried to think of everything as best we could, then essentially trying to improve our community. And so with that, I think that was everything on there. So yeah, it'll go through the process. It's an official plan application, so we have to have public notice and circulate to agencies. So we're hoping to have all the public consultation wrapped up May 28th, with it coming to County Council on June the 11th. So with that, sir, that's all I can offer you.
Thank you, Warden Nemo. Yes, Lori.
Thank you, Warden. I'm just, and I'm kind of new to all of this stuff, but can you clarify the different, like how the CIP program and this HYPE go together? Like if you're, I don't know, you're somebody on Raglan Street that wants to apply for signage grant through the town of Renfrew's CIP program, do you have to apply to the county first and then have it, or apply to the town first and then it goes to the county and then,
So what we're trying, I'm sorry, through you, Chair. What we're trying to do is that you would apply simultaneously, but the town would approve your application for the county funds, and then it would come to us. So we're not trying to complicate it, but we want to be respectful to the town.
Yes,
may
Lori.
I continue?
Yeah, absolutely.
So who does the actual approval and how long would you expect that to take? Sorry, through you, Chair.
Yeah, absolutely, Warden.
So internally here in the town, it goes to Director Withers, and I believe he has the authority to approve here, and he would pass it to the county, and it would go to the planning department to God, I can see his face. Our chief planner, sorry, who is an acquaintance of Director Withers. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Yeah, Councillor Andrew Dick.
Thank you, through you, Chair. To Revimo, I'm just curious if an organization such as a nonprofit group already has a project booked and in place, are they still able to apply for this grant?
Yes, not retroactively in terms of, for the sake of argument, if your budget is $65,000 and you spent 15, it's not for costs that you've already spent.
Okay, so for example, there's a project, I know of a project that's happening on Main Street this year to a very old building, and they haven't started the work yet. Could they apply for this grant?
I would say yes, but they should check with Bruce Howarth, sorry. It's Bruce Howarth at the county after June 11th.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Any other questions? I'd just like to maybe add, I'm looking at this and myself in my own personal situation, I don't fit within the CIP grant area for my new startup. Hypothetically, then if I was to do a request to the county, I would fall more in their parameters than the Renfrew one. So I see an advantage to residents that don't fit into the small window that we've provided for the CIP, but potentially others that are outside of it. So, and I could be corrected if I'm wrong, but I see the warden nodding his head yes. So. Excellent. Councillor McWhirter.
Through you, Chair, for emo. Is this being advertised so that people, what caught my eye was the fencing for cattle. I know there's always been issues up along the bonus shirt. It's the reason it's so dirty. How would people know about this program so that they can apply? Is that something you're going to advertise, or?
As soon as, in theory, as soon as it gets it's likely to be approved. The only hitch is should there be some complication coming out of the public consultation and somebody appeals it to the land use tribunal, then it could, we can't really advertise it until we authorize it. So hopefully you'll hear something very early in July.
All right. Thank you, Warden Emo, for your time and your updates. Moving on to D, Development and Economic Updates. D1, Town of Renfrew Economic Development Update presented by our Municipal Property and Economic Development Coordinator, Jacob Collins. You have the floor.
Thank you. Through you, Chair. Just a little bit of an update on what we've been doing, the economic development side of things. Kelly and I are starting to get things rolling here now that we've had some time to settle in. So the first thing we've done with the help of Director Withers was get a request for standing offer for real estate services posted. This went out on April 2nd, and we hope to have approval for success out by May 30th. We're aiming to get a good mix of local real estate agents as well as some larger firms who would have a wider spread of connections to help bring in businesses and development to the town. We're having this mix will be a valuable resource for us to lean on to begin selling the properties that we've already deemed surplus, while working to find more marketable properties to surplus with hopes of bringing new business and development to our town. Sure, if you want to go to the next slide there. We're working on creating a database that will feature all town-owned property. We're going to divide this into 3 categories, which will be current surplus land, future marketable land, and non-marketable land. These properties, once deemed surplus, will be featured on both the Roots and Renfrew Economic Development website, which will be directly linked to the town website as well. The goal is to have the available properties easily accessible for anyone who may be interested to find them and get more information on. And for those who don't know, the Roots and Renfrew website is a tourism and economic development website that we had created probably about a year ago now, and with the lack of an economic development position with the town, it kind of fell through the cracks, but it's something that we're working on getting updated and brought to use because it is a really well done website. So hopefully we'll get that done here really soon. And the final thing right now is in early May, I'll be attending the first of 2 courses offered by Waterloo University to gain my economic development designation. The course includes lectures, workshops, role-playing, and small group projects led by experts in their fields. These will all be valuable and cover meaningful topics I'll be able to bring back to Renfrew and improve our economic development. I'm excited to further my learning and in turn help grow our town.
Thank you for the update. Any questions from anyone at this time for Jacob? Councillor McWhirter?
Chair, for Jacob, just a statement. I've been on council for a long time. This has always been on the radar. I don't know how many times we've talked about it. It is so nice to see this finally going ahead and seeing progress. So Jacob, job well done. I look forward to getting some properties sold and some new businesses coming to town. So good job.
Thank you.
Excellent. Anything else? All right. Yeah, thank you, Jacob, for the update, the report, and we look forward to all your hard work and continuous reports. Going to move into E, community update. I have the Downtown Renfrew BIA and Lisa Vincent to present.
Thank you, through you, Chair. A brief, I guess, update on what the BIA is currently doing. We've just wrapped up the Show Your Love campaign. I unfortunately don't have the full results yet because it just wrapped up, but there was a lot of engagement with patrons and customers downtown. So I know that there was lots of receipts flowing in, and lots of gift cards floating out to the recipients. So that will then circulate business back into the downtown core when they receive their gift cards. So right now, the new up-and-coming event will be our Great Downtown Garage Sale, first Saturday in May with a rain date following. It's been an event for, oh my gosh, probably almost 20 years now, so always a good turnout if the weather cooperates, and there's a new price this year, so just to entice more participation as well. So that is up and coming for the next most recent event. We are working on an event currently with regards to, it's basically a patriotic support local event. You've probably seen, of course, we partnered with the town, and the Canadian flags are up downtown now. We've just started administering out window clings for all the businesses that have the music shop local, spend local, support local, and we're going to go ahead with reinforcing that message with an event as well. So let's see, any other? As well, we are working on signage for the entryways to town. The signs need to be replaced. I actually just received the proof this morning for the new signage, and it's going to, again, accentuate support local, spend local, and sending people to the downtown core with over 170 shops, services, and restaurants awaiting people coming into the town. And then on the reverse side will be a thank you for visiting Renfrew, please come again. And we're also pricing currently signage for the trails, for the Algonquin Trail, directing folks to our downtown core and what we have to offer. So that's, I think, the summation of everything at this point. That's kind of currently on the docket, and with lots coming up for the fall as well. So
Thank you.
Thank you.
As always, very encouraging. Questions? Yeah, Councillor McWhirter.
Through you, Chair, for Lisa. The signage on the trail, is that like, would that be like a street sign point, like that would say like somebody's business and it points down? Because I know when the trail goes through, you're actually passing different streets. So there would be, if, let's say you're a Railway Avenue, you're going by there. If you had a sign, like a street sign, pointing down the street, and then with the name of the businesses that are down at that end of the street, if someone was interested in that, driving by on the new trail that the county is going to develop, is that something you're thinking about, or is that what you meant by the trail, or?
Yeah, through you, Chair, yes, we're preliminarily looking at mostly symbols of what's available, so restaurant, gym, whatever it happens to be, is because to capture anyone who is moving at a bit of a rate, that they will identify with what is available, and directional arrows, yes, or if it's coming into town, you are 2 kilometers from downtown Renfrew, and hopefully also communicating this new message that we're putting out there with regards to spend local and support local.
Thank you, that's a great idea. It works great.
Any other questions, comments? Lisa? Thank you. It's great to hear. It's always encouraging. Moving to E.2, which is our Renfrew Area and Chamber of Commerce update, and Christina Ouellette. Thank you.
Hi, through you, Chair. Our chamber, we had our AGM just not too long ago. It was in March. It was very well attended. Our next event is actually the Mayor's Breakfast. We're having it May 13th. It's going to be starting at 7:30 up at the MyFM Center. On the 23rd of April, we have our newest chamber member. They are called excuse me if I'm saying this wrong, Informatenex. They're just a technology group. They're hosting a lunch and to learn about cyber attacks. The topics will follow how cybersecurity can help your business, having one-on-one conversations with people leading in this industry. His name is Kyle Moldkin of this group. So that's very exciting that we're having. You can get more information from Gail here for our chamber at the town hall. We're also having a first in a long time, an after-hours networking event. It is free for members, $10 for non-members, and what we're going to feature is, we plan to have a couple of these during the year. This one's going to be at Castle on Gillen Road from 5 to 7, and we're going to discuss things about the home. So the people who are actually coming to speak is Sherry Kobus, Tim Shea from SLS Millwork Cabinets, and Ron Dunbar from Dunbar Inspections. And then, of course, we have the hosting of Castle, so if you needed any building needs or anything to do with the home, that's for that evening. And we're looking forward for a lot of people to come out, just to come out, see who the members are, see what the chamber is about, and that's pretty much it, what's going on with the chamber.
Amazing. Thank you, Christina. Any questions? Conversation? That's a good report. There's no hands up in the air, so thank you. I appreciate that. Right on. So we're going to move into F, which is discussion. So F.1, that the Economic Development Advisory Committee explore and identify potential initiatives to reduce storefront vacancies in the downtown Renfrew area, and further, that the committee provide recommendations on strategies to promote and attract sustainable businesses to occupy vacant locations. Can I have a mover? Councillor McWhirter. Excellent. I will move this over to Lisa Vincent to speak to the motion that she's put up.
Thank you, through you, Chair. I've made some notes here, but as we all know, all vacancies within our community affect our economic outlook and should be of grave concern. Elevated vacancy rates, particularly in downtowns, can raise significant concerns as they can result in decreased economic activity, negatively influence perceptions of safety, and diminish vibrancy of the downtown core. This decline can have repercussions for businesses, residents, and the community as a whole. Over the past 2.5 years, vacancies in the downtown Renfrew BIA area alone have surged from 4 to 16, with 13 of these locations directly on the main street, all highly visible, some an eyesore. And this trend poses a serious threat to our community as a whole. I believe those numbers have adjusted since I did the stats a few weeks ago. We are having a new business open up, but there's been another one announced it's closing. So the numbers should be pretty much the same. So the thought is what actions can we implement to reverse this decline and entice sustainable businesses that will strengthen our downtown as the heart of Renfrew? I have done a bit of research along with some of my colleagues on the board. Some municipalities in Ontario have enacted vacant building bylaws and registries to tackle issues such as neglect, public nuisances, and to promote redevelopment. These regulations often require property owners to register their vacant buildings and keep them maintained to specific standards. The owner would be required to register vacant properties within a designated time frame from the date of vacancy. Upon registration, a fee would be imposed to the owner, which would cover costs associated with program enforcement and any administration costs. This fee would include a predetermined number of annual building inspections to ensure compliance and identify any violations. Fines would be levied for any infractions with escalating penalties for repeat non-compliance. The vacant building bylaws would establish a legally enforceable framework for some of these negligent buildings. These bylaws are designed to prevent neglect and mitigate the negative effects it can have on communities. Additionally, they often set specific standards for upkeep of vacant properties, which include minimum maintenance requirements, securing the building, maintaining liability insurance, and properly managing utilities. Currently in Ontario's municipalities that have some form of vacant bylaws are Ottawa, Toronto, Welland, Timmins, Brantford, St. Catharines, Hamilton, North Bay, and London. So this growth in vacancy, particularly in downtown, which is so highly visible, has caused great concern among our board. As a business owner and a resident of Renfrew, I'm very concerned about it. And we all know which buildings look terrible, and have not been maintained and probably are actually dangerous to anyone who would actually be interested in leasing the property. So I'm putting this forward because the minds around this table are great, and any ideas in order to mitigate this and possibly reverse this trend would be well received, that's for sure.
Thank you. I'll open up to the floor. I have comments as well, but Councillor McWhirter.
You, Chair. I'm not sure if this would be directed to Carolyn, the clerk. I sit on bylaw, and I'm not quite sure the bylaws pertaining to that, but I'm wondering how would we go about getting a report back here on for the bylaws pertaining to that? Would we have to make a recommendation to council and ask them to pass a motion to have staff bring back a report? Is that how it works? Or put it on the bylaw table next meeting? Not sure. I'm looking for guidance.
Clerk Harrod.
Thank you, through you, Chair. Yes, with the mandate of this committee, any direction to staff would be a request to Renfrew Town Council. So this committee could put a recommendation on the floor, whatever that recommendation be, is that Renfrew Town Council direct staff.
Sorry. Or could we somehow ask, I chair the bylaw, is there some way I could get it on our agenda that we could discuss that at bylaw, or is it better just to ask for a report of what we already have, because I really don't know myself what we have concerning that. I think it's a great idea, though. It'd be one step towards what we're looking for. So.
Okay, Clerk Harrod, for sure.
Sorry, through you, Chair.
Yeah.
For confirmation of the bylaw, you are talking about the bylaw working group, correct? So with regards to a bylaw working group, they are more of an informal body, so it would be completely acceptable for this committee to refer discussion to the working group for discussion, and then should something rise from that, then that would go back to council. But if this committee would like to do a recommendation to bring a discussion item forward to the working group, then that's fully acceptable.
Before I accept any recommendations, I'd like to have a full open discussion. Yeah.
If I could continue, I think for me, I'd like to go and ask for what we have already. Because if I'm not like I know the working group for the bylaw doesn't meet that often, but if we do happen to have another meeting, I could just ask for a discussion. I could bring it up myself, could I not?
And Clerk Harrod.
Thank you, through you, Chair. So if it's this committee's will, then you could be tasked with finding out the information and bringing back that information to this committee for discussion.
Okay. Councillor Andrew MacDonald. Sorry, Andrew Dick. My goodness, you're sitting there.
I'm sitting in John's seat. Yeah. Did you call me Andrew MacDonald? I like that. It's all right. Through you, Chair? Yes. I think this is a good idea. My only concern is, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here, we have a history of doing bylaws, and then the bylaw gets passed by council, and then nothing happens. We know we have bylaws now. They're not enforced. They're just on a piece of paper, and they're sitting there. That would be my concern with this. Council, it would come to council, we'd talk about it, we'd say it's a great idea, we'd vote on it, bylaw would go in force, and then there'd be no enforcement. That would be my fear, right? Another thing is that concerns me, and I think if we move forward with this, and I think we should move forward with this, because I think it should be a discussion, is the legal aspects that the town now would have. So if we put a bylaw, and I might be wrong on this, but we might put a bylaw through that we are now responsible for making sure that the buildings are safe. Well, if we pass that bylaw and then something happens, is the town now liable for lawsuits because we're in charge of making sure the building is safe? Right? So I think these are questions we should be asking. I think we should move forward with this because I 100% agree with what Lisa's saying, like some of the buildings need to be taken care of. So I just wanted to throw my 2 cents in on that when we move forward with this. Thanks.
Thank you. Christina.
Thank you, John. Through you, Chair. Okay, so I actually sat on the, just to give a little bit more insight about bylaws and buildings and stuff like that. I remember sitting on the BIA, and for the longest time we would get very upset because there'd be, terrible paint on the windows and absentee business owners or building owners that live in Toronto and stuff like that. And I actually made the recommendation to our board. I'm like, why are we not getting our bylaw officer after them? Because there is bylaws out there for making your town look beautiful. I wouldn't say it would be the town's responsibility for making the building safe, but what the town would do is pass a bylaw on making the building owners responsible to making it safe in the town of Renfrew, to making them up to speed in the town of Renfrew. Because I remember that from the Party City, I think, that building, it was dilapidated and like nobody can go in there. However, the paint looked crappy. Then they'd put up tape, so then we went ahead and we put up some signage and stuff like that for downtown Renfrew. And it's basically, we feel like, I guess the businesses we're held at this point. We can't do anything, and I think what Lisa is trying to do is to get a bylaw passed for, we're not responsible, but the building owners are responsible because it's hurting everybody else. It's hurting our businesses. It's hurting tourism coming to town. So I think it's a great idea to be actually doing that.
Thank you, Christina. John?
Through you, Chair. I think this is a great idea, and I guess I'm getting older because I remember a conversation like this about 20 years ago. So my recommendation would be we make a list of the available space, because not every space falls into the same category. There are some spaces that there's nothing wrong with them. They need to be rented out. The landlord's excited about getting someone else in there. Perhaps we find those spaces, and those spaces get put on routes in Renfrew, no different than here are the pieces of property that are for sale. Here are the downtown locations that are available for rent, and you can contact, some people go through real estate, some people do it themselves, but we have a good listing of what's available and who to contact. And then section 2 of that is, if we have 1 building, 2 buildings, 3 buildings that perhaps the BIA or chamber believe these are buildings of concern because they are infringing on the beautification of downtown, safety of downtown, and possible, not actively trying to be recruited to fill. They're just dormant buildings. I think that point we build a committee either through the chamber or the BIA that starts to work with the town to say, okay, what are we going to do with these buildings? And in some of it, it might be a case of just reaching out to the owner, someone on one of those committees, and saying, hey, I'm from the chamber, you own this building, let's talk about your plans or your lack of plans, because they might go, I don't have a plan for it either, and maybe there's an answer that exists that they just haven't gotten to. Or maybe they have plans that they are going to beautify it, and we should know that. And again, then the next step is they avoid us, they ignore us, and then you go to, we have a bylaw that now we're going to actually enforce because we've given it a good college try to be there and support you and help you, and you haven't responded or been proactive. I think there's kind of a tiered way you'd want to attack it.
All right, thank you, John. I'm going to throw my 2 cents out there because I believe all good conversation and it's in the benefit of the town. But I heard something at the beginning and no one's really addressed it. We've gone from 4 to 16, roughly. We're all trying to run a small business. That's what downtown is a small business for the most part. There's not many massive corporations that are coming in with corporate backing, so therefore it comes down to cost. And if we implement endless fees or charges towards buildings that are already expensive to rent, because that's maybe why they're empty and a small entrepreneur can't afford the monthly cost, and then we're including more cost, that to me becomes troublesome. So I know that the work has to get done. I know that the bylaw has to maybe be implied and there has to be a way to get things done, but at what point, and it's nothing that anyone here has done, but at what point is it priced out of a small business market? At what point does the entrepreneur not feel safe in the risk to open up their store and take on all that cost and then accumulating costs? That's the fear, and maybe that's why we've got so many lack of, and I could be told otherwise, but like, is there a direct relation to the fact that we have 16 empty buildings and how expensive it is just to rent them? Or even for an individual to purchase one of these buildings and open up a store, it's awfully expensive. So I'm open to hear what maybe anyone's opinion is on that before we dive all the way down and implementing fees and bylaws. John Paul.
Through you, Chair. I mean, from my experience, having owned a building in downtown Renfrew and having leased out the space, and every few years having to sort of do a little bit of a project to say, hey, are we charging too much or are we charging too little? I think that a commercial developer would say that downtown Renfrew is very affordable compared to a new commercial development like RioCan or somewhere like that, like cost per square footage. So I don't know that it would necessarily be, I mean, anytime someone's starting a new business, cost of everything is always too much. But I think per square footage is probably very fair and reasonable. And I think for the, if you look at it like a mall, the people that are in the mall with you are all very good and they're all in the same boat. And I think our merchants and store operators and businesses in downtown Renfrew, independently on their own, do an incredible job to make it feel very welcoming. So again, I mean, some buildings might be more expensive than others, but I've never, in any of the years where we've researched it, felt that it was crazy high or unaffordable. And you know, in our business, we're always looking for space in some of our markets. So for example, in Napanee, we're looking for space right now. In St. Thomas, we're looking for space right now. And when I compare what they're charging to sort of our other markets, including Renfrew, they're all pretty much in line. Like I don't see that Renfrew is, you know, crazy more expensive than a St. Thomas or a Napanee. They're pretty much in line. I will say that, and I should have mentioned this earlier, one of the things we had talked about years ago was maybe some of the stores that are vacant that, you know, the landlord is really excited about trying to find a tenant, and they're, you know, maybe there is something within the BIA chamber and or town. We had talked about kind of viewing it as a mall years ago, where it's like, hey, could we provide a sign that goes in the window, much like when you walk through a mall and they have a display that says, you know, we're growing, we're improving, you know, exciting new opportunities here, whatever the little catchphrase is there something we could put in some of those stores where the landlord is really excited to try and get someone in there? Could we do something that maybe helps promote that? We have the signs, they go up, and when they get leased, they come down, and maybe there's something exciting soon coming that goes up. And then when the business is open, we grab the signs back and they get stored somewhere to the next time somebody needs that. Like maybe there's something we could do to kind of make it look a little bit more exciting while it's still vacant.
Thank you for that. Lori.
Hi there, going to have my 2 cents through you, Chair. I think this is a great idea, Lisa. I've certainly heard of this talk before, but like absentee landlords kind of thing, just letting their buildings deteriorate. And I remember attending like a women in business thing a few years ago in Arnprior, where one of the councillors spoke about a program that they had ran to how assist their downtown businesses in terms of sprucing things up and that. So I'm not, and I think that might have been just available to businesses that were already there. I'm not exactly sure, but I think there's probably information out there that we could access about this. I don't think the rates downtown are particularly troublesome either, but there is some buildings that definitely need some work, and it's such a beautiful place that I think we should be focusing on getting it looking how it should look. So, and so I don't know how we reach out to our prior, but I think there was something that was done maybe 8 years ago or so. Thank you.
Yes, Lisa.
Through you, Chair. Yes, John, I agree that there are some good landlords out there that are definitely marketing their properties. We see that. I know our board, we're looking to add those to our website for the folks that we have contact for in order to promote the fact that these buildings are vacant. Our rates definitely across downtown are very competitive. I believe those who, I know there's a couple that are a bit pricey beyond with I think the eyes on COVID are still there, and they think the prices are worth a little more, but the market's going to dictate that to those landlords. That, you know, the tenants aren't going to go into those buildings. The other buildings are going to fill first, and that's going to dictate to those landlords who have maybe a little bit of aspiration to keep higher rents. And the grave concern is the ones where the landlords aren't trying to put someone in their buildings and not wanting to work with entities like the BIA or the Chamber in order to do so. So.
Great. No, great conversation. Yeah, Councillor McWhirter.
You, Chair, for Lisa, do you think there's any landlords that are on the main street, and there's a few buildings that have been vacant for a number of years? Do you think there's anybody that's actually landlords that don't live in town, they live like maybe Toronto or something, and they're using the buildings as a tax depreciation and write-off? And are you aware of any other municipality that's run into that, and what maybe they did to mitigate that? I don't know.
Yeah, through you, Chair. I think, Clint, with regards to that, I know for a fact that there's one building downtown that had it was appraised so that they could have a reassessment through MPAC and pay lower taxes. And it's been vacant for a number of years. I'm not sure, that's just one I have knowledge on. I'm not certain about some of the others. But I think by having some enforcement, and a lot of the research I did, it was like these inspections were done by the building planner. So they would go in and determine, and as I say, the fees would cover these extra expenses that the vacant building owners would have to provide. And then if identified by the planner that there is some issues that would prevent this building from being rented, danger issues, security issues, that kind of thing, that would be where the fine process would come into place for that building owner, enticing them hopefully to do something about their building rather than using it as a tax break. So, you know, put a little bit of teeth into something so that if they are just using it as a tax break and a write-off, maybe they might rethink that strategy.
Thank you. I'm going to move this over to our clerk. Is that what you asked for? No? Okay, I'm not. Yes, absolutely.
Through you, Chair. I guess just to add to the discussion here, noting that there are some mechanisms currently already in place with the town with regards to property standards. So there is mechanism in bylaws that are already established. I will say that bylaw is a complaint-driven process. So our bylaw officers are not necessarily out seeking issues, but when issues are brought to their attention, then there's a strict process that does have to be followed. So again, some of these buildings, if there's a complaint that is put forward, then it is required to be followed through and looked at and examined, and in order, if there is challenges identified, be placed. So again, I just want to make sure that that's clear, because we do have a lot of property standards, and I do know in the past that when a concern has been brought forward, then that process has been followed. So whether it's this committee's desire to look at either identifying a more stricter clause when it comes to window displays and, you know, how are, like, not window displays, but like the outside of the building and what can be seen when it is vacant, like those type of clauses, if they want to be tidied up, I guess, but at the same time that a lot of those mechanisms are in place, they just might need to be explored in a complaint-driven process.
Yes, Lisa?
Yes, thank you. I'm certainly aware that it's the knee-jerk reaction that usually gets bylaw there. You're reporting something that's unsightly or possibly dangerous. The purpose behind this program would be to put the authority into the municipality's hands. So the owner would have to register when their property's been vacant for a certain length of time. And that can be decided upon, if we feel it, or the bylaw or municipality feels that an appropriate amount of time for someone to fill their building is 6 months, well, that could be the time frame. And it's on the onus and the owner to register at that point in time that their building is vacant. That gives us then the authority as a community to follow up with that building owner and the standard of their building and the quality of their building and the safety of their building. And that fee then provides the revenue in order to pay for the costs associated with those inspections. And if they continue to violate, then the fines are added to the fee.
John?
This is probably, through you, Chair, more of a question, and maybe we don't have the answer in this room, but I would think that there might be certain buildings where their tax payments might reflect how serious they are about a building. Like if they're significantly in arrears, that probably shows they're not very significantly interested in the building. And the challenge that I would see moving forward, I mean, if you think about the one building that's been vacant the longest in downtown Renfrew, is what point does it cross the threshold of being literally just an expense, because you can't actually put a tenant in there because it's not safe, or the cost of repairs would never justify the rent you could get, so that the only answer might be that it has to be torn down, which would cause a significant impact to the look of downtown Renfrew in its sense. So there is probably a real valid discussion that needs to be taking place, and maybe it's got to be driven by the BIA, and whether it's through making a formal complaint through the bylaws, or whether it's the town taking it on from a perspective of if there are arrears, there may or may not be. Because again, I think the challenge that we have downtown Renfrew is all the buildings are connected. Every building brings value to the building beside it. It also brings safety concerns to the building beside it. So I mean, everybody sort of is in the party together, that they have a little bit of accountability to each other. So I would recommend we make a motion that if Clint is on the bylaw committee, that he takes Lisa's question back to the bylaw committee.
You don't need to make a motion, I'll just do it.
Oh, okay. Even better. Okay.
Great idea. I'll look into it.
Thank you.
I just wanted to clarify, Councillor McWhorter, are you referring to the parking bylaw specific committee, or is there an additional bylaw committee you're referring to?
Well, I'm on the,
It's the, there's two.
yeah, I'm on the parking, but I'll talk to bylaw about that specific.
Thank you. I'm just gathering everything, and I guess the question might be, do we have a mechanism in place to challenge building owners if we can chase them for building upgrades and updates? Because if we don't have a mechanism in place to approach them, then we don't have much strength in any bylaw. But if we can put a mechanism in place, is kind of what Lisa's getting at, to give us the opportunity or the authority to challenge them, I think is maybe where we're kind of getting towards is, can we approach a defunct business owner or building owner and apply pressure on them at this point? Do we have the rights to do that? And if not, can we apply a mechanism to do that?
Through you, Kyle, I'll just kind of answer that a little bit. I think just being in the BIA and then the bylaw office, it used to be town, then it was independent, now it's back with the town. If I'm not mistaken, like, I think it's just not going to talk to the business owner. I think there is bylaws in place. We'd have to find them out, what it is, the laws, where we can start, and what kind of pressure we can put on. If I'm not mistaken, I think it's for us to have the conversation with the bylaw officer. That bylaw officer goes and talks to them. They give them whatever, how many warnings. I remember we did that to that building on the main street, and then we got them to paint it and pay the property taxes or do something, because I believe that's how you start. Like, it's just not our job to do it as the group here. We have a paid town employee to do that, and utilize him that way to find out where we can start out with, the taxes or absentee building owners, and that's where we can start with that.
Thank you. Probably going to go off hinged here, and I'm going to get looked at, but regardless, can we put a request in potentially to have the bylaw represent themselves in this meeting, at our next meeting, to discuss this topically and understand what we have written and what we don't have written, and there we can make a recommendation to council after understanding the information, because there's a lot of good questions here, and I don't think we have all the answers today.
You, Chair, as well, could we get bylaws about buildings and stuff like that? There's got to be somewhere.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's Glenn inputting them in.
All right, I'm going to take a swing at this after speaking with Deputy Wright. So we can't direct staff ourselves, and it seems like we want to have a discussion with bylaw. So if someone could make a recommendation to town council to direct bylaw to bring these bylaws that we want to discuss to this meeting, so we can have an open discussion, and if there's recommendations that can come from that, then we can package it and bring it back to council. Christina?
Hi. Through you, Chair, I am recommending that we have the bylaw officer come here, and then we can go back to the town. You're welcome.
Thank you. So Christina's moved a motion.
Can I just confirm if it is the bylaw officer that you'd like to attend, or the building and planning, the director?
We'll get both.
Sorry for the delay, we're just waiting on, there we go.
I just wanted to confirm, Christina. So I have here that the Economic Development Advisory Committee recommend that Renfrew Town Council direct the Director of Planning and Development as well as the bylaw officer to attend the May Economic Development Advisory Committee meeting to answer committee questions, specifically regarding storefront.
The vacancies downtown Renfrew.
I think buildings. Yeah, as they pertain to buildings. There's a 10 building standards there. Through your chair, there is a standards building like act out there already, so.
Yeah, thank you. It'll be a good discussion again. We're all leaning towards something very similar, I believe, so to have the bylaw here would make our decisions and discussions and directions made easier. So, as read, for Deputy Clerk Wright, all in favor?
I do need a moved by.
Oh, you do need a
no,
mover?
I already have
It's
a mover,
moved.
sorry.
Yeah, you,
We've got it.
seconder?
no.
Okay.
So again, I saw all in favor, hands up, it's good.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'll move on to motion 2 on this one, that the Economic Development Advisory Committee discuss additional ways beyond the community improvement grant plan to encourage property owners to maintain and improve unsafe or unsightly vacant buildings, making them safer for more marketable.
We do have to circle back to the original motion to discuss it.
On here. Okay. I'm going to pause what I said. I'm sorry for that. We're just going to circle back.
Sorry, I just wanted to, from a procedural standpoint, so we did just move and motion the recommendation to have the planning and development as well as bylaw attend, but we do need to go back just to vote on the original motion. That was that the Economic Development Advisory Committee explore and identify potential initiatives to reduce storefront vacancies in the downtown Renfrew area, and further that the committee provide recommendations on strategies to promote and attract sustainable businesses to occupy vacant locations.
All right, thank you. So we've had a good discussion. We've got a motion that's moved, so I'm just going to, all in favor? It's carried, thank you. I'll repeat this. Motion 2, that the Economic Development Advisory Committee discuss additional ways beyond the community improvement plan to encourage property owners to maintain and improve unsafe or unsightly vacant buildings, making them safer and more marketable. I will look for a mover, Councillor Andrew Dick, and I'll move this over to Lisa Vincent for a few comments. I believe this one was directed at you as well.
Yeah, through you, Chair. I think what I covered in the discussion, it's kind of a twofold thing. You know, there's certainly the community improvement program is available for building owners and tenants, and I think that's a great thing to encourage. And now that we've heard that there's something available through the county as well, that's fabulous. Yeah, it's the vacant buildings and is hand in hand with the unsightliness and the need to improve upon them, as well as then marketing of anything that is vacant to potential businesses to replace the vacancies.
Thank you. Is there any comments on this? So just maybe to compress this, ideally, we're going to discuss this with bylaw if the opportunity comes. So I don't know if we want to vote on this or if we want to recess this until that particular. Is that, so we could move this down the table to when bylaw shows up and we can encompass that then? All right, so all right, so just looking for someone to give us a motion to defer this until the bylaw attends. John Pohl has given us that motion. All in favor? Thank you. That's carried. Moving to F.2, that the Economic Development Advisory Committee review and provide input on the proposed questions for key user groups at the MyFM Center, with the goal of identifying opportunities to enhance support for groups and events. Can I have a mover? Councillor McWhirter, and I'll hand this over to John Pohl, as I believe this was presented by him.
Thank you, through you, Chair. So I just put together 5 simple questions. I don't think we need to spend a lot of time dissecting every user group. Surveys like this sort of have two purposes. One is to actually get the information and make sure if we're missing a boat somewhere, we fix it. The other one is to actually just show the user groups that we care and we appreciate them and thank them. So it's kind of a twofold thing. I thought I'd share a couple things just that are on my mind in regards to why I think this survey is important. So I happened to speak with the president of Renfrew Minor Baseball, who happens to sit on another group with me. And in chatting with her, I just said, hey, we're going to be doing this survey. What are your concerns? And she brought up 2 things that I think are perfect examples of what we're trying to accomplish. One, which is very similar to a challenge we have at Renfrew Minor Hockey, which I'm currently the president of, is and I spoke with Kelly about this, and she thinks she has a solution, but just to give you sort of the context of the problems we can solve. When the ice gets canceled or a ball field gets canceled because of rain or because of a snowstorm, what has been happening is the town of Renfrew sends a bill to Renfrew Minor Hockey with that ice time on the bill, and sends a bill to minor baseball as if the baseball game got played, even though everyone knows it was canceled because there was a rainstorm or there was a snowstorm. Then the volunteer treasurer has to go through the bill and go back to the town of Renfrew and say, hey, these 4 or 5 ice times didn't happen because there was a snowstorm. Then the town redoes the bill and sends it back out. And this happens the same for minor baseball as it does minor hockey. Perhaps soccer's the same, perhaps tennis is the same, I have no idea. That would be the purpose of doing that. When in reality, what really should happen is there are staff people at the town of Renfrew that know the ice isn't used. Right, whether it's the rink rats or the town staff, they know that minor hockey canceled it because there was a huge snowstorm outside. They were shoveling the walkways. Everyone knows. The problem is the information isn't being sent to the person that makes sure the bill gets fixed. And if that information just went from, hey, the rink didn't get used last night, minor hockey canceled, whatever, U18 hockey game, if it went directly to the person from Renfrew who is in charge of sending out the bill, and they just put on the bill, that game was canceled, now the volunteer treasurer doesn't have to go through and create another loop. We basically take a whole section of work that gets done out of the loop. And I chatted with Kelly about that, and she's like, oh, that's actually probably very easy for us to fix. And that's sort of the purpose of this survey is, how do we find these little things that will save our volunteers that are doing all this work for free a tremendous amount of time and make their lives easier and support them through the resources that we have? Because that's not a hard thing for anyone to do, it's just knowing about it. The second one was fascinating to me because, and I think this happens in a lot of volunteer groups, when I speak with minor baseball, the president of minor baseball sort of openly said, like, I don't do baseball, like it's not my thing, I'm doing this because no one else was doing it, and in order for the kids to have baseball, someone needed to do it, so I stepped up and I'm in charge of baseball. I will acknowledge there are lots of tournaments that we could host in Renfrew, but I just don't have the knowledge to fill out the applications or to apply for the grants that we could submit to get bigger tournaments or whatever. And I'm like, again, that's a perfect example where I'm sure we have someone on the town staff that has filled out many grant applications that could be a resource to that person to say, hey, we have an opportunity to bring a big baseball tournament to the town of Renfrew. I just don't know how to fill out this form. Could you give me 10 minutes and give me some advice? Or could you help me? Or could you actually do it? Like, I don't know where that would fall in. But if there are opportunities like that where we could be applying to other hockey associations, other baseball associations to get bigger tournaments to be hosted at our facilities, because we now have these great facilities, if there are resources within the town that someone could help that person because they don't have the knowledge, I think that would be something that would be helpful for us to know. Or again, we might also find that, hey, there isn't anyone on the town staff, but there's someone that retired from the town staff that used to do that. Maybe they would volunteer to be that liaison for the town, and so, you know, volunteer groups that they would be someone that'd be like, yeah, I'll go for a cup of coffee and give you some advice or help you out. Just something that moves that down the field a little bit further. So that was kind of the idea behind this survey, is how can we uncover opportunities of things we're doing really well, things that maybe we can fix. There might be some things we can't fix, but also that the user groups feel that their opinion matters because they're doing the work. And I think when we look at the user groups, they kind of break down into two categories, like super user groups, so the people that are spending a great deal of money at the facility. So minor hockey's probably at the top of the list. The junior A club would be at the top of the list. MyFM would be on that list. I'm sure there are other people. And then there are other user groups that they might not be about the revenue we generate, but they might be about what they do to help benefit the community. So it's like, yeah, we don't make a lot of money from this, but we see huge value in it because it keeps kids busy, or it provides seniors an outlet to do something at low cost. So there's two different types of customers there that we want to deal with, and we want to encourage all of them to use the facility more, because the more they use it, the more productive the facility will be. So the questions I suggested we asked, and again, I have absolutely you can't critique me enough, I won't be offended. These were just the questions I would ask if I was calling. We would just basically say, hey, is there anything that comes to mind you feel we can do better to improve your experience when it comes to using our facilities? Whatever that might be. And again, I think we'll hear things we already know. Well, on busy days, the parking's not great. Okay, well, we already know that, but again, the more we hear it, the more it comes up, the more it gets on a list to get fixed. Anything specifically that our facilities are lacking that you feel could improve your experience for your group? You know, I think one of the things, and I'm in the hockey world, so I only think about hockey, but it's very possible that the tennis folks go, hey, we have this really weird thing that it's only a tennis thing, that if you're not in the tennis world, you wouldn't see this problem. So again, what could we do to improve? We're interested in hosting more events, tournaments at the facility. Is there a way we could help you use the facility more? So again, that might be to the Renfrew Minor Ball, where they go, God, there's 4 big tournaments we could apply for, but I just don't know how to do it. And we try and find somebody that can help them do it. Have you been at another facility where the event did something that made you feel made you feel we should investigate it as a best practice? The great thing about a lot of our associations is they travel around, right? They go to other arenas, they go to other ball fields, they go to the soccer clubs, and they see things where they go, oh, that's really cool. They might bring back something where they go, it was really cool. They had this thing, and we go, wow, we could do that. That's an easy. And then just any comments, good or bad, that you think could help us improve. Most people will probably be very nice and very kind, but we're only looking for 4 or 5 ideas. As I meant, the billing one is a really good example, because I've seen that in 2 associations. It's very possible others have the same problem, where we go, hey, it's actually an easy fix. It's just literally changing communication inside the building. And I think that because of the grandiose change we've had out there, from not only the size of the building, but the size of the staff, the leadership change, I think it's a perfect time to do it, because there are things that are probably falling through the cracks that we don't even know are falling through the cracks. And it's not that someone's not doing a good job, it's just we don't know what we don't know. And I think there's a lot of value in some of the user groups, because a lot of people probably that are part of them have been part of them for a long time, so they'll be able to say, oh yeah, we used to like it when it was this because it was easy, and there might be a gem in there that would help us. So I would say if we made a list of the user groups, again, my recommendation would be that maybe some of the businesses in this association, in this committee, make the calls, just so that it's neutral. It's not like they don't feel like, well, if someone calls me from the town, I don't want to say something that will get someone. They'll actually maybe be a little bit more honest, just to say, hey, we're from the Economic Development Committee, we're just trying to help out. What do you think? They might give us a little bit more information than they would, sort of a town staffer. But I would also submit that if the town felt a town staffer should do it, that would be better than not doing it at all. So over to you for comments and discussion.
Thank you. I'm going to jump in first, I guess. Yeah, you hit it right at the end, John. Just proper deployment of this type of information. What's the right avenue for it to come from, or who does it come from, is my big thing. So we're not going to be able to approve this through the group. We're going to have to make a recommendation of what these questions or how this deployment works and what our anticipation is to get it to the town council board or table, sorry, so that we can make that final decision on how we want to do it. But I think it's encouraging to be asking the questions. I do. I don't think it's, as you said, like a shot at anything. It's finding stuff that we don't realize that we're looking for. So maybe I'm speaking out of place, but yeah, I just want to make sure we understand what the deployment is and what the ask of town council is. If there's anyone else that has any more questions. And Councillor Arnie Dick.
Thank you, through you, Chair. And I don't know the appropriate way to do this, and the Deputy Clerk will shut me down if I get off topic here. I like this, I love this, and I think there's more to the conversation, and I would like to have it on the next meeting regarding on how we can be better at promoting it from an economic development. Let's be honest, and this is where I'm going to get shut down. We have this beautiful facility out there, and as a town we do nothing. It's there. And we hope that people are going to come to us and rent the ball diamonds and rent the tennis courts and rent Mattaway. We don't do anything to promote it. So can we get that on a discussion with this, kind of? Instead of just sending one thing to council, we can send a whole bunch of things to council to decide. Does anybody understand what I'm saying?
Lori.
Through you, Chair, I think I do, Andrew, because that was going to be one of my questions. Like, is this survey purely for people that are already using the MyFM Center, or are we looking at Mattaway as a whole, and are we going to go looking for people, like ask the question, what would it take for you to use this facility, or something like along those lines?
John.
Yeah, through you, Chair. My recommendation would be it's sort of a step process. Like, number one, we start with the people that are using it the most, because your best customer is the easiest one to sell, to do more things with, right? So we're going to, if we get Renfrew Minor Hockey excited, and I just know there's changes in Renfrew Minor Hockey because I'm the president, we're going to be able to book more tournaments. Well, we want to encourage them to book more tournaments, because that means more people in town shopping, more people buying gas, more ice rented, right? But we want to make sure that, the Wolves, maybe there's things the Wolves could host that they're not hosting now, because we've never openly said, hey, would you want to do this, that, or the other thing? And they go, yeah, actually, we could do that. The other part of it, too, and to Andrew's point, is I think we would find from some of these groups, and again, I can talk in the hockey world, I know in the hockey world, I think Whitewater used to do this, where whenever an ice time became available, they had a list that they actively sent those people a note saying, hey, an ice time has become available on Thursday for whatever reason, a game got canceled, whatever, do you want this ice time? And they would send it to anyone who had ever asked them about renting ice time. So as a coach, I would get a notice every once in a while that Cobden had ice on Thursday at 7, and then I could say to my team, hey, do we want to have an extra practice, or we wanted to do an exhibition game or whatever. So they were actively always saying that this is what's empty, do you want it? This is what's empty, do you want it? So that it wasn't just a case where you walked in and the ice was empty, because generally people that want to rent the ice, if there's available ice, they'll go, yeah, we'll pick that up. So that's sort of the next stage. I would think there'd probably be a user group that would probably point that out to, again, get us to be a little bit more proactive as well.
Thank you. Councillor McWhirter.
Chair, to your question, they are doing that. I know Randy Pender, he's very involved with the ice, and Randy Smith, and I've I've seen them do that, like the ice came available, so they called a user group or something like that, like figure skating or.
Sure, yeah. I mean, and that does happen from sort of Randy Pender point of view, and that's Randy Pender's experience. The question I would have is, what about the rooms upstairs? What about the gymnasium? What about anything else we rent in that facility? Like, I know the ice gets taken care of very well, but the other question is, and I think if we asked Randy this question to give us the answer, which is just like, Randy probably defaults to minor hockey first, is my guess, because he's a minor hockey guy. I could make a business case that might not be the best thing for the town of Renfrew. Maybe going to an outside group that pays a higher user rate might be better, and maybe it's not. Maybe we're happy to have a friend for minor hockey have that ice. Again, as a minor hockey guy, we probably want the ice. However, there's also ice time that just becomes available that, again, some of those other people just being asked, even if they don't get it, they go, oh, Renfrew's really always interested in renting their ice. And again, I know Randy does it sort of in an internal way because he knows there's teams that haven't gotten ice as much, so he offers them the first, which I think is good. It's not a bad thing at all. I just think in the process of the whole facility, how do we make sure that anytime something's empty, someone's being asked if they want it? Because again, the other part of that would be easy to do during hockey season, but right now we're in a fringe part, right? So minor hockey's done, but we have ice time. Now we should be making sure all those outlying guys, the guys that rent it because they want to take their kids out to shoot extra pucks because they're hardcore hockey people, the little girl that's trying to get better at figure skating and the parents will invest extra money to give her the extra time. Like, how are we reaching out to those people outside of just our little hockey group? Because there's two groups there.
Okay, going to jump in there. Looks like we're talking about almost two different things now. I just want to make sure that we stay on point because the initial point is potential questions and actioning and working with the groups that we have. Councillor Andrew Dick mentioned that there might be a bit more context that you want to add to that. It looks like Lori maybe too, so I think it's a good talking point. I don't know if we're going to solve it all today, but maybe if we do bring this back to the next meeting with a little bit more opportunity, because I do want to get it applied as soon as possible, and maybe we can get to a little finer identified package that we can present to council so that we can get moving forward on it. And then the second group of items that John's brought up, we could potentially make another shot at that once we've made this package presentable. Councillor Andrew Dick.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. And that's exactly what I was going to say. Let's deal with John's questions and let's deal with our customers that we have now, and then we work on the other part. I'd also like this committee to realize, and it's the same all over Renfrew in this committee and in council, anytime we talk about the MyFM Centre, it's hockey driven. We're more than hockey out there. There's so much more out there. And we, as the leaders, we have to change that directive, right? And so I just wanted to throw that out there. So.
Through Chair, and this might be a question. I wonder if some of the ideas that we come up with in this group, it seems like we go through this process where we come up with the idea, then it goes up to council, and then council throws it back to us. Is there a more direct way where, like, for example, we could give the idea to the rec department, and then the rec department makes a subcommittee of people that they can just work together on this and skip a bunch of steps? Is that a thing? Am I thinking outside the box?
No, you're not thinking outside the box. It's just the difficulty of we don't have the ability to direct staff. Direction of staff has to come from council. So as much as I'd like to say, yes, here's a packet for staff, we've now asked them to take on work that wasn't approved at the council level. So we do have to follow that staircase. Although within the package that we present to council, we could have that direction potentially recommended if this passes council, that it does get directed immediately to the rec staff for their immediate application, right?
There's a recreation board though? Oh, there's no recreation board anymore. Okay.
If I may,
Yeah.
we switched everything to committee of the whole, which is actually to your point, more direct with council, because now council hears everything instead of 3 guys from council on committee that bring it back to council and then re-talk about it all over again. And sometimes you want to get that opinion and you don't get the fulsome discussion that you might have had if everybody would have been involved. So we just have it. But to your point, I know exactly what you mean, and normally that would be the process.
Yeah, no, I'm thinking old school, so no, that makes sense then. Yep.
So not to diminish, if there's no more real questions, the effort that has been put forward, I think if we have a little bit more time to sit on it, but if we bring it back, we have to have some really solid solutions and try and get something on paper so that we can move forward. Would there be a motion on the table to defer this to the next meeting? Lori? Okay. All in favor of that? That's carried. And then to close the loop on this particular one, I'll read it again and get a vote that the Economic Development Advisory Committee review and provide input on the proposed questions for key user groups at the MyFM Center with the goal of identifying opportunities to enhance support for groups and events. All in favor? Do I have to do that? Or is it just deferred? Sorry. It's just deferred? Oh, sorry. Don't worry. I'm just talking because I want to hear myself. It's Monday somewhere. Okay, then I will move on to F3, which is meeting topics. That the Economic Development Advisory Committee identify the desired topics for the May committee meeting and confirm any additional items to be brought forward. I have a mover. Councillor McWhirter. All right. I'll just jump in here quickly. A couple things. So there's a piece of paper on everyone's desk. This piece of paper represents an opportunity for you to add additional meeting topics and could be presented prior to our meetings. So if there's something on the list that doesn't jive but you want to talk about it, this is your opportunity. It's a paper form. You can also reach out to the deputy clerk as well. Sarah will help you get yourself through this position, get it filled out, and she'll help with the wording and whatnot. Also, I'm going to bring up the fact that at the last meeting we did talk about meeting frequency. There was a couple things decided. The main one was the fact that we were going to skip the March meeting. I don't know if we actually talked about what our frequency might be, so now's a good time to chat about it. I've heard recommendations anywhere from quarterly, which would only be 4 meetings, upwards to 8 meetings, being, I think, near the max of what we want to see once we take a look at, the holiday schedules, March break, et cetera, et cetera. So open table, what kind of frequency we would like to see, anywhere between quarterly and up to 8. John?
I think how I took it was we had thought 8 was an appropriate number, and then when you subtract out a couple in the summer, March break, Christmas, maybe that's how we get to the frequency of the meetings just take place, except for those really busy times, and they're monthly, but there's going to be a couple months we miss. That's how I took it, and that works for my schedule, but I can only speak for me.
Councilor McWhirter?
I agree with Mr. Pohl. I think, I know council doesn't have meetings in July. August, I'm pretty much gone. I understand March break. There is an issue with council for even January, if depending on how many guys go. I didn't go this year, but there's quite a few of the guys that went to Roma. So, I agree with John. Like, if we could just pick certain months that might work for us. And I mean, we can always call another meeting if Jacob has some great news for us about new business moving in, a hotel or whatever. I'd be okay to come in for that. But maybe we could make a motion or a recommendation that we move to certain months, and if everybody agrees upon them, go with that.
John Pohl?
So if I heard that, we would not have a meeting in January, December, July, or August. So that would leave us with 8. Does that make sense?
I could add one more in March as well. We fall in the March break area, which is the reason we missed last. So that would be a meeting total of 7.
Yep.
All right. Lisa?
Yeah, my only concern about December, January is there's 2 months there where we're not meeting in a row. And I think right now the momentum that we have is quite good. I'd hate to see that go by the wayside. Personally, I mean, December is my busiest month of the year, but I can afford 2 hours the second week of December. If it was December 24th, no, you're not going to see me. But, you know, certainly that would be, I would consider December, and January, there's maybe not much point if we can't put anything forward anyway because council's away.
December would get us back up to 8. It is an important time of year for the town of Renfrew and the small businesses and so on. So yeah, I could see December being added back in. If 8's still the number, I see lots of nodding heads. So I'm going to get confirmation through our deputy clerk on the months.
For sure. And I also just want to make sure that everybody is aware too. December, the first council, there's only one council meeting in December, and it would be the same day as this. So anything that would want to be brought forward to council wouldn't be until the new year anyways, even if with a December meeting.
Understood? Okay. So once again, I'll ask for someone to move the 8 months that the scheduled meetings would take place on, which would be, if the clerk doesn't mind going through those again for us.
For sure. The only other thing I do want to just quickly note as well is with a break in the months that you are holding a meeting, it would be recommended that unofficial minutes still went forward to council for review, just so that if there's a 2-month break, things are actually being able to be followed up with, and there's not a long waiting period till those minutes are approved 2 months later and then go to council. So I have as a motion here that the Economic Development Advisory Committee amend the meeting frequency to 8, including February, April, May, June, September, October, November, December. And then if you would like to add, and that meeting minutes be put forward to council before board approval to ensure timely response to action items.
Sorry, I might not have heard that. Does that give the opportunity for Jacob Collins to present material potentially that might need a special meeting if something were to come up that needs our discussion? Do we want to add that in there or is that not something that's needed? Not seeing.
As far as I believe, you can call a separate meeting if there is something that comes up outside of these, so it would be like a special meeting.
Just want to leave that open if there's something that does need our input that's coming through our economic development officer, that we have that, right? Okay. Do I have a mover for that? Councillor McWhirter? Any more discussion? All in favor? Okay, that's carried. Thank you. And then to finish up, any other meeting topic discussion? John Paul.
I was going to suggest, and I don't mind taking this on as a task, that now that we have a new CEO at RVH, that maybe we invite her to our next meeting to just give us an update of what's happening in RVH. There's some exciting things that they're working on, and I'm sure she would love to share them with us.
That's a great suggestion. Yeah. Thank you. Any other? All right, and I'll call the vote on this particular item. All in favor for meeting topics? Okay, thank you. We have G, which is committee meeting minutes, that the Economic Development Advisory Committee confirm the minutes of the committee meeting 2/2025, dated February 11th, 2025. I have a mover. Laurie, any comments? All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. And then the next meeting, regular scheduled meeting of Economic Development Advisory Committee is scheduled for May 13th, 2025 at 10 a.m. At 11:49, I'm going to call adjournment. Thank you.
crazy when you look at that picture and you think of that building, like how much that building means.